Today's session is looking at induction stovetops and specifically the plug-in kind, as you can see. These are a really good option if you're looking at changing over from if you have a gas stove or an old electric stove, but you want to test it out first, or you're a renter, or you just can't afford to make the switch at the moment. These you can get for as low as $50. I've got two different brands to show you today. This is an Anko, so Kmart or Target, and this one we got online. So there's quite a few different options. This is not an ad for any particular brand. It's just for the idea, which is why I wanted to have a couple of different ones to show you today. But these were both about $50. And I believe they're coming up in Aldi's special buys for $50, either this week or next week. I saw an ad for it. So I've got notes because there's so many points to cover today. I'll open it up for questions at the end. But yeah, just have a few kind of demos to do and points to cover because yeah, we've been told for quite a long time that gas is the way to go. It's, you know, cheaper and easier and faster and all those things. But we have been told that by the gas industry. So it's, you know, in their interest to tell us such things. And, you know, we're now realizing that that's maybe not the case. In the past, gas has been a lot faster than those ceramic element stoves, which are very, very slow to heat up. But now that we have induction as an option, and even newer electric stoves are much faster as well, the old arguments don't really stand up. So the first thing that I love about these plug-in options is that they're super easy. Obviously no install required, literally plug into a normal power point. You don't have to worry about upgrading your power supply or getting an electrician to come and install it. You can pack it away when you're not using it. You can travel with it. You can use them for camping if you're, you know, going to a caravan park, or use them for outside cooking as well. If you've attended our free ways to stay cool session that was all about staying cool in summer, one of our recommendations was to cook outside, and you don't need a barbecue to be able to do that. All you need is this, maybe an extension cord if you don't have an outdoor power point. So that's a really good little trick that you can do as well. And obviously, yeah, they're renter friendly. You can move them around with you. You can plug them into any house. A lot of people, if they've got an old gas stove like this, just get something to cover the top and just sit it right on top of their existing stove so that you can use the extraction fan you've already got. I've got a wood stove at home. Obviously, we don't want the wood stove going in summer because it heats the whole house. So we do probably 90% of our cooking on this single induction burner. You can get double burners as well, one with two. I find that most of the time you only need one hot plate. The only time I wish we had two was when I'm making pasta and you need one pot boiling for the pasta and one making the sauce. At the moment, I kind of make the sauce and then you got to put the pot on to boil the water for the pasta, and the sauce is already done, so it takes twice as long. But everything else, if I'm doing curry or something, I've got a rice cooker. So it's very rarely that I actually want two burners. It just kind of depends what you're cooking. So that's a bit about how easy they are. The next bit I want to talk about is how fast they are, because the thing that's often talked about with gas is that it's instant on. Obviously, you turn it on and it's hot straight away, whereas the old electric element or ceramic element stoves could take 15 minutes just for the burner to heat up. So what I want to do today is the first demo is I want to actually boil water. And last time I did this demo, I just had induction versus gas. Today I've actually brought a kettle as well, so we can compare the three. I'm going to measure out the water so that it's fair, and noting that the surface area is very similar, because obviously that would make a difference in how quickly it boils as well. So we'll just do What we do, half a litre. Does anyone want to make a bet on which one will win? No, no money involved, just pride. So you've got 3 to choose from: gas, induction, or the kettle. Still going induction? The second bet would be, by how much is it going to win? Like a minute, 2 minutes, 30 seconds, 5 seconds. Oh, I didn't bring the lid actually. That's a good point. That's all right. That's true. There could be a lid that fits. Yes. That might fit. There we go. That fits. It's not see-through, so we can't see inside it, but. And now, just to make it fair, we'll turn them all on at exactly the same time. So I might need some help. So that one just goes down. That one just is a button press, and I will turn this on. There we go. And I'll have gas on high. Everything's on high. There we go. So they're all on high to make it fair. And I have done this test prior to coming in today, obviously, so I do already know the answers. I brought this is just an aside, in case, because these old gas burners, usually the clicker doesn't work. If you haven't seen these before, these are electric clickers. You can get now, everything's moving away from gas, even candle shops. I got this at a candle shop. It's a little taser thing. Do you see the? So you just put that around the wick, or you can just light a gas stove with it. And it's a little electric, I'll show them. Like a little taser that sets fire to the wick of your candle. And it's just a rechargeable, it's not a battery or anything. It's just got the same charger as a phone type thing. $10. So that's just a little, no, I think I've charged it once, maybe. Depends how often you're lighting candles, probably. But I just brought that in case the clicker on the stove didn't work. So this kettle that I'm using on the induction actually has a temperature gauge on the top, as you can see. So we're up to about 50 degrees on this one. That water is hot on the stove. Yeah. So the kettle is almost done. Induction's up to 60 degrees. Okay, kettle's done. I should have set the timer actually, shouldn't I? Oh, 2 minutes, flat on. Induction's at 70. That's just on full. So it's 2000 watts, sorry, which is 280 degrees Celsius. I would only ever turn it on this high when I'm boiling water. If you tried to cook on 2000, it would just be way too hot. As you can see, water's boiling. We're up to 85 degrees. This last bit's going up quite quickly. 90. I mean, I would call that boiling, but that is 100 now. So we'll turn that off before. So how long was that? 2 minutes? 56 seconds, and we'll check on the gas. Some tiny bubbles. Not even simmering. but it's yeah, it's getting there slowly. Yeah, that's why I've tried to do it really quickly. Now, when I did this test at home, my husband's a bit of a techie kind of guy. So we've got these smart plugs, if you haven't seen these before. These are like, I think they're just the Bunnings brand ones, but again, no, we're not promoting any specific brand in this session, just to show you what's available. These are about $15. This one's a slightly more high-tech one. It's got a temperature and humidity sensor in it as well. So what we do at home is we have our heater plugged into this smart meter, and you get an app on your phone, and you can actually set it to say between 2 a.m. and 3 a.m. If it's below 14 degrees, turn on. You can set whatever you'd like, and because of the humidity sensor as well, you can use it for dehumidifiers or humidifiers, and say when the humidity is above this amount or below this amount, turn on. That's nothing to do with induction, but just to show you that what's available. But what we use them for in this session was we actually plugged them in at home with the kettle and the induction, and you can see on the app how much power they're both drawing as well. So you can actually get the direct comparison. And what we found at home was the kettle is faster, it draws a lot more power. So even though the induction's taking less than a minute longer, it's actually using a lot less power. The draw on a kettle is quite high. Yeah, it is one of the biggest power users because it's this big spike. So if you can wait the extra 45 seconds, induction uses a lot less power. I did ask Michael to send me the screenshots of the power usage, but I don't think he has. Yeah. That's a very good point that I haven't even covered what induction actually is. Yeah. Yeah.
Before, when you were getting down, you were doing this sort of induction now. Does
Yeah.
that get hot? Oh, Lord.
So what actually happens is this heats this, and then this heats this. The only magnets. Yeah. So induction actually works very differently to how we think of elements working. The induction plate actually never gets hot. The induction heats the pan. Yeah. Yeah. And some of the things that I have to demonstrate will show you that actually. Paper towel. So what these do is these just measure how much power it's using. So if you wanted to know how much the induction's using, or if you've got maybe a dodgy fridge at home and you think, oh, my power bill was really high, why is it really high? You can actually plug these in, plug your dodgy fridge or whatever you think might be drawing a lot of power, and your phone will actually tell you, yeah, it's using this much power. So that's what people usually use these for. We just use them at home to actually compare the power draw between a kettle and the induction, because we were interested, okay, it's quicker, but how much power is it using compared to? That's boiling now. Yeah. When I've done these tests at home with a see-through lid, which is a bit fairer than this, because I have to actually check that this is boiling, I've found that induction is about 2 minutes and gas is about 4.5 minutes. So, or 2 minutes, 15 seconds, 4.5 minutes. So it's pretty much double the time to be heating using gas. Just to go back to the magnets thing, I will be talking about that a bit in some of the other stuff I'll be talking about. It's going to come back into relevance. So speed, we've now seen, obviously, induction is a lot hotter, faster than gas, and that's because it's instant on. It's the same as gas. As soon as you press the button, it's hot. You don't have to wait for it to heat up because the plate is actually not heating up at all. It's directly going straight into the pan or the kettle or whatever you've got on the induction. And that leads me into my next point, which is efficiency. So it's very important that we talk about not just speed, but efficiency. It's not quite the same thing. So an induction plate is 85% efficient versus gas is 32% efficient. And what I mean by that is with induction, because it's heating the pot straight away, you're not losing any heat basically in the element heating up. You're not losing any heat in heating the room. You're not losing in light. A lot of gas is actually lost in light, as well as just blasting heat out into the room. You're just directly heating the pot. So the efficiency loss is actually in the heat that the pot soaks up rather than the food, and the noise. There is a slight noise just because of the fan that keeps the induction running. So that's where you're losing that 15% efficiency. Nothing is 100% efficient. But compare it to gas, where you're losing a lot of heat into the room, you're losing it in sound and light also. Gas is only 32% efficient. So only a third of the gas that you're using is actually cooking the food. 2/3 you're just losing into the room. Which in winter, maybe you want that heat in the room. It's like our wood stove, you know, it doubles up by heating the room as well, but you certainly don't want that in summer. And it's just not a very, usually you've got the extraction fan on, so all the heat, you just lose it anyway. Out of these two, interestingly, when we did the smart plug test on this one's the Kmart Target one. That one was the one we got online. The watts that it was pulling, this one was much closer to the actual wattage that it said. So at the 2000 watts, I think it was pulling 1950. This one was a bit more variable. I think it was about 1400 watts that it was actually pulling when we had it on the 2000 watts. So in terms of actual reliability in it is doing what it says, we found this one was better. But so actually boiling water on this one would be faster than that one. But in terms of day-to-day usage, it kind of depends what you're looking for. This one is, you can set the power, so the strength or the heat, or you can do it by temperature, or you can set a timer as well. On here, it's got a few more preset options. So you've got a rice option, a milk option, boiling water, soup. If you want to get really high tech, you can actually do things like tell it to be this hot for this long and then turn down and be that hot for that long, especially when you get into the actual installed inductions. You can get quite techie with it, where you can actually pre-program it. It does have a child lock on it, and it also has timers as well. So you can see the temperature degrees up the top and the wattage down the bottom. Gives you an indication. This one goes down to 300 watts. This one actually goes down to 200 watts. And I've had one in the past that went down to 180, which was really good if you wanted to do things like heat up milk or anything that you wanted to do really gently so it doesn't scald. It's quite useful to be able to go down that low. I find with this one, even the lowest setting is sometimes too hot if you wanted to do something like toast nuts or something, you know, something where you really wanted quite a low heat. So again, depending on what kind of things you want to cook, that will come into it, so that you'll be able to tell when you are buying an induction. Just check the wattage, the minimum and the maximum. They usually all tend to be 2000 watts maximum. You really don't need it hotter than that. As I said, we only use that when we're boiling water, nothing else. It's just way too hot. Pretty much 800 is like the hottest that we have it on to actually cook food. That is still quite hot. 600 is more, right down the bottom, 600 is more of what we cook with, because as you can see, that's 80 degrees. 800 is 140 degrees. So this is actually where you end up cooking most of the time. This is all, yeah, if you want to boil water or make stock or have those kinds of things happening.
So do you need to have special pots or that, or just...
That I was going to talk about later, but I can talk about it now. All you have to do is take fridge magnet shopping with you or to your own kitchen and test. If it sticks, it will work with induction. If it doesn't stick, it won't work with induction. So that's a really easy way to tell. Pretty much all pots and pans that are sold now will have induction friendly on the box, and pretty much all pans now being sold are induction friendly because people have it. People have induction so often now. So this is the other thing that you can do is this, because this is quite a good size coffee pot. So we have a smaller coffee pot that works and a bigger coffee pot that works. This medium one doesn't work, but we just got a conversion plate, and I'll show you. This one was $30, I think, and this is a Bialetti, like a branded, like a brand name one. So as you can see, this one will have an error code. It won't work, but if you put the converter plate on, it works, no problem. The only thing with these is that this is the thing that's heating up. So this will be very hot after you've used it.
So do you have different pots, or would that...
You could use this for probably a small pot like this, but like a larger pot, you probably have to get a larger converter. The other thing with induction-friendly cookware is that induction-friendly cookware is always dishwasher safe as well, because it's stainless steel. The metal that doesn't work with induction is aluminium, and you can't put that in the dishwasher. So that's just a kind of a double whammy. If you want to be able to put stuff in the dishwasher, it's going to be induction safe as well. So I'm not saying you have to change over all your pans depending on what pans you have, but definitely any new pans you're buying, make sure that they're the stainless steel ones, because they'll be good all round. Yeah, yeah. So all you have to do is just take that around with you, take it to the op shop, take it shopping, any fridge magnet, any magnet. Yeah, any fridge magnet will work. Well, any magnet will work, but I'm just saying, you know, pretty much everyone has a magnet on their fridge. So you can just pop that in your pocket and take it around to op shops if you want to check what pans are induction friendly as well. I'll just repeat, Michael was saying with the cheaper induction plates, the lower settings is actually, the temperature is achieved by pulsing. So what it does is it gets higher than 60 degrees. It gets up to like 100 degrees and then kind of cools down. So you'll actually notice that when you're cooking something, it will kind of like come up to a simmer and then stop simmering again. It kind of pulses like that. So that's another consideration when you're choosing the price point or brand. As I said, these are about the same price, but this one, when we tested it, tended to be a bit more reliable. Well, that leads me on to my next kind of point, which was cost. People want to know about the cost for obvious reasons, and one of the things that we have been told in the past is that gas is a really good option because it's cheap. That was true when gas was really cheap. That's not really the case anymore. Gas prices have skyrocketed over the last couple of years, and they are not going down anytime soon. Despite gas being sold to us as natural gas, it is a fossil fuel and it is a finite resource. And Australia is one of the biggest gas countries in the world, but we export the majority of it. So the majority of our gas goes overseas to places like Singapore. We have deals with them on the pricing. We don't have deals with Australia on the pricing. So sometimes the Australian gas can be priced higher to compensate for the lower prices being sent overseas. Unfortunately, we kind of tend to pay the price. So I guess the first thing to talk about in terms of cost is the cost of the actual burner. As I've mentioned, you can get a lot of options for as little as $50. You can pay a bit more, up to say $150. That's kind of the price range. And the double burners are a little bit more than the single burners as well. With the install induction stovetops, you're probably looking at, it's quite a big range. It's quite, there's quite a difference in price, I guess, between the lower end and the higher end of the range. It tends to be between, say, $700, like $6,000 or $7,000 for like the really fancy ones. Those ones are the ones where it'll just be like one big area and you can actually just put the pan anywhere and it's smart enough to know where the pan is and it just heats up that little bit. So when you kind of get up to that higher price range, they can get quite fancy and high tech. Obviously the price with an install one, you have to factor in the electrician to install it, and potentially you may need a power supply upgrade. If you are going from a gas stove and just some normal power points, you will need a different power supply there to have your induction connected to. So those are just some kind of install cost considerations. But obviously with these, there are none of those considerations. It's just plug and go. So if you want to get started really cheap and really easily, I'd recommend just getting one of these, and you'll be surprised how much of your cooking you do on a single burner. It's really the majority of it. The second thing we have to talk about in terms of cost, obviously, is the actual electricity or gas used in the cooking process. The prices of gas and electricity are getting around the same. It's kind of a bit negligible now in terms of the price per kilowatt. I've got here, it's currently 27 cents per kilowatt hour for electricity versus 19.9 cents for gas. You have to kind of do a bit of a conversion to get those numbers, but that's, say, 27 cents for electricity versus 20 cents for gas. But then the efficiency comes back in. So with all the efficiency lost in the gas, where we're talking only a third of the gas that you use is actually used to cook, and the rest is going into the room and up the what do you call that, extraction fan, and in light and things like that, you have to triple the cost for gas. So it works out to more like 60 cents per kilowatt hour that you're actually paying, and it takes longer versus the 27 cents electricity. So you're actually talking about double the cost using gas, and that's not factoring in how much quicker it is to cook on the induction, and then not factoring in if you have solar panels. Obviously, electricity is free. So if you have solar panels, go electric as much as you can, obviously. And then the other thing I want to talk about with cost is the connection fee. So if you can get off gas, you can save the connection fee, which is actually quite significant for you. The next thing I want to talk about is health and safety. This is a real consideration when cooking with gas, and a lot of people aren't necessarily aware of the dangers of cooking with gas. As I mentioned, gas is a fossil fuel. Despite it being called natural gas, it is quite dangerous. So it contributes 12% of childhood asthma, and it is as bad for childhood asthma as smoking inside the home. So if you wouldn't smoke cigarettes inside around your kids, you shouldn't really be cooking with gas around your kids either. If you do need to cook with gas, always have the extraction fan on so it's pulling all of the chemicals out, because as well as methane, sorry, losing my voice, I've been talking too long. Gas burners actually give off nitrogen dioxide and as well. So they are blasting toxic chemicals into your house. Not great. It increases asthma risk of children by 42% and the lifetime risk of asthma by 24%. So it's some really significant statistics. The other factor of safety is obviously open flame. And I will show you one of the benefits of the way that induction works and the fact that it's not heating up the element, it's heating up the pot, is that you can actually use induction with a paper towel in between the pot and the plate, because it's not, I know, it's mind-blowing, but that's how, I mean, you can imagine me trying to put a piece of paper towel on a gas stove while it's running, it would set on fire. And this is just goes to show how safe induction is versus a gas burner. It's also got an overheat function. There's no real way for me to show you that, but if you've got a pan, I think that's going to boil straight away. If you actually, it might do it if I just empty this out. If you have a pan on the stove and it doesn't have anything in it, it will overheat and it will actually just turn off automatically. So if you go, oh, yep, I'll start cooking now and I'll just start chopping the veggies over here, or somebody's at the door or my phone's ringing or something and you get distracted and there's just a pan on the stove, it will turn off automatically. It's probably just burning off the last bits of water in that pan for now. But it also happens sometimes when you're cooking, if the pan can get too hot, it will turn off automatically, and that can save you from burning your food as well. So if you had, something in the pan and you've forgotten about it, or a steak or something, if it gets too hot, it goes, no, there's actually not enough food in this pan. It will turn off and it will have a little error code and it will start beeping. I'll be interested to see how long it takes for it to do that. Well, and if you do accidentally turn it on and there's no pan, it won't heat up. It just gives you an error code. There's nothing on there. There's nothing I can heat up. Yeah, you cannot, that old thing of, oh, have I left the stove on? You actually can't do it with this because it will turn itself off. And then obviously with gas burners as well, the pilot light can go out and then it's just still got gas. If the fire goes out, it will just be blasting gas into your house as well. I've sometimes left, say you want to make some stock, a chicken stock, and you want to leave it on overnight on low or something like that. I wouldn't really trust a gas burner to be left on unsupervised. Whereas an induction plate, you could have it on really low and you can actually put a timer and say turn it off after 8 hours or something like that. Then the other thing of these is obviously how easy they are to clean as well. So they just wipe like that, whereas a gas stove, you have to take these off. I mean, this gas stove kind of isn't used that much, so it's quite clean, but you know how grotty they get, especially when they have a bit of oil, they get stuff stuck to them, and then you have to try and fit that in your sink somehow, versus these, you just literally wipe them clean. I'd probably turn it off, but and the installed ones are even better because they are literally just a flat surface that you just wipe clean.
So I've done it before where it's just like a piece of timber, so like even like plywood, cut out to the size of your existing stovetop, pop that on top and just use as a bench top. So you can opt to seal that if you want, but these aren't going to produce heat downwards. So like they can sit on any bench top. They don't need a heat-proof surface to sit on. So yeah, it can give you a bit of extra bench space and use up that area.
It's quite safe to do that.
Yeah. So most of the time we have our induction plate just on our kitchen bench. As Michael said, because it doesn't put out any heat, basically, it's not going to burn the bench underneath it or anything like that. You might get some over splatter depending what you're cooking. You just wipe it down as you normally would a kitchen bench. So that might be if you wanted to completely cover your gas stove. You can just put a piece of plywood or something, or you could get a bench sealer or a bit of, you can buy kitchen benches from Bunnings or that kind of thing. You could just cut it to size and just stick it on there. And then you've got the extra bench space as well. Because the double plates do cost a little bit more as well. So say a double plate costs $100, but 2 singles cost $50 each. Still spending $100, but you can just pull the second one out when you need it, which might not be very often. And you're just saving all of that bench space. And obviously it's adaptable then. You can see I've got them plugged in on different benches here today. You can move them around your kitchen as needed. Yeah. Any other questions? Fondue? Well, yeah, put it, plug it in your on your dining table and have your fondue set in the middle of the dining table. So this one goes down to 60 degrees is the lowest degrees that it goes down to. So yeah, you could basically have that. This one's a little bit louder, as you can hear, but it's only loud when you just turn it on, it does the extra fan thing, and then it kind of settles down after a while. It's not loud like that the whole time. Yeah, it's basically a keep warm. 60 degrees is pretty much food safe. That's as low as you want food to get. So yeah, you could have it plugged in on your dining room table or something when you're doing a dinner party and just have the stew or whatever there, just keeping warm, like a bain-marie style kind of thing. You could use it for that as well. To address the other problem that people have with induction, people go, oh, but what about woks? As if everyone, I think half the people that ask, what about woks, have never cooked with a wok in their life. But there's a couple of different things that you can do there. You can actually get wok induction burners that they're quite expensive. The cheaper way to do it is you can get flat bottom woks that are induction friendly, or you can, if you really cook with a wok all the time, you can get plug-in woks. We have actually a plug-in wok that just plugs in a power point, and it's, you cook in that. So there's a few different things that you can do to address that problem if it is genuinely a problem for you. You just, yes. A blowtorch, that's the other thing you can't do on induction, is you can't flambe, because there's no open flame. So your crepe Suzette or you really want to set brandy on fire for some reason, you can't do that with induction. Obviously, there's no open flame. But if you've got a blowtorch, you can do that with a blowtorch as well. Set things on fire, do it with matches. Your brandy over your Christmas pudding, you just do that with a match. That's probably the other thing that you can't do with induction that you can do with gas. A lot of the things have to do with just having an open flame. But who's really flambeing that much in their day-to-day life? I'm not. So yeah, that's our presentation for today. Hope you can join us for the next couple at Sebas Live as well. Thank you. Thanks.